Thank you so much. So yes, as mentioned, this workshop is being recorded. This presentation is being recorded. It is a webinar, so we can best be able to answer your questions. So it's a little bit more organized in terms of the Q&A, so we can be able to best address your questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. But just to reintroduce myself for those that are just joining us this evening, my name is Amanda Fernandez, and I am the Spartan Eastside Promise Program Lead at San Jose State University. I have been at San Jose State for about 11 years now. So first as a student and then as a staff member. So you can definitely say I am a Spartan through and through. I am also an alum of the Eastside Union High School District, having graduated from there quite a while ago. So incredibly excited to have this opportunity. So thank you so much for inviting me this evening to speak on the CSU as well as San Jose State, our Spartan Eastside Promise program, and the Cal State Apply application. So again, if you do have any questions at this time, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. We'll go ahead and address those as well as have some Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and get started in our presentation, which talks about who we are, where we're located, and how your students can become Spartans. So first off, San Jose State is located in downtown San Jose, San Jose, which we call the heart of the Silicon Valley. As you may be aware, we are the third largest city in California, the 10th largest city in the US. The reason I bring this up, especially for our students, is many of them, even though they've lived in San Jose their whole lives or most of their lives, they've never been to downtown. They've never explored SJSU and seen what our campus community has to offer. So I do want to take just a moment for any students that may be on the line to see what downtown San Jose is like. Right here. So that's a glimpse of what our campus looks like, or what downtown looks like, where our campus is located. One of the great things about being in downtown San Jose is we are surrounded by so many companies. Some of our top employers are listed here, such as Amazon, Apple, the city of San Jose as well, just to name a few. That our career center, our incredible career center, brings to our campus virtually. This Career Center also helps students in preparing for their interviews, writing their resumes, being able to search for jobs and interviews, even do career counseling if they're unsure what they want to major in or what they can do with their major. We have tons of support services for our Spartans. As you can see, SJSU supports more than 25,000 jobs in the state of California, many of those here in the Silicon Valley. Now, to talk a little bit more about our educational system, the CSU is, San Jose State is part of the CSU, the nation's largest four-year public university system. We're actually the founding CSU. We pride ourselves on focusing on providing our students with a high-quality hands-on education. What does this mean? Of course, there's tests, there's homework, there's projects and things of that nature, but all of this is for students to not only learn the theory, but put that theory into practice. For San Jose State specifically, almost all of our majors require a student to get an internship before they graduate. That way they are building their skills, building their resume, and have that future and current workforce demand experience before they even have their diploma in hand. Now, taking a further look at our campus, we have over 33,000 Spartans enrolled at San Jose State. So that is quite a lot of students. However, again, high quality hands-on education. So even though we have 33,000 students plus some, our average classroom size is about 32 students to one professor for lower division and 29 students to one professor for upper division. In my entire time at SJSU, I only had one class that was the big, large lecture style, like the movies of 300 people or so. The rest, really small, even a class of only 12 students, my internship class my last year. So again, incredibly hands-on, which is so important for students to get to know their classmates, get to know their professors, especially when they need that letter of recommendation for graduate school or an internship or a job. Now, taking a look at our rankings, SJSU is ranked the #7 top university on the West Coast. We are one of the top colleges in the nation for diversity, as well as one of the most innovative schools in the nation, constantly adapting to provide our students as many opportunities as possible. We were also recently ranked the #1 most transformative university in the nation. I can definitely speak to how San Jose State has transformed my life. As I mentioned, I am an alum of SJSU. I was a first-generation student as well, so the first in my family to go to college. So going to San Jose State provided me with so many opportunities, but instead of hearing my story, let's go ahead and hear it directly from our Spartans.
At San Jose State, we have a lot to be proud of.
We advance creativity and innovation.
We explore interdisciplinary research to study wildfire.
We reflect our diverse community and are continually working towards equity and inclusion.
We strive for justice to advance the public good.
We promote success in and out of the classroom.
We contribute $4.1 billion to California's economy.
We are transformation defined.
We are Spartan.
We definitely are Spartans. So, moving right along here, there is so much that goes into Spartan life, so much into being a student at San Jose State. Whether students are involved in any of our 450 student clubs, professional networks, fraternities and sororities, professional development opportunities, maybe part of or even creating a social justice movement, maybe part of an opportunity within their college, such as a research opportunity. As you could see, students were actually built that car in that picture. Maybe they're part of our radio station. There's so many opportunities for our students. As for SJSU and the CSU system, these are not extracurricular activities. These are co-curricular activities, activities that go hand in hand with their experience in college. Now, what also is part of that is being supported throughout their time here. And at San Jose State, we have a multitude of support services, whether it's academic advising, college success centers in every college within SJSU, multiple cultural centers, our health center where students can see a doctor or a counselor, or even just hang out in our wellness lounge on the massage chairs between class. Maybe they're facing food insecurity and need some assistance there. We have a pantry. We have our Undocumented Spartans Resource Center for students who are AB 540 or undocumented and needing assistance with resources. I could go on, as this is just a glimpse of our support services at SJSU, but San Jose State truly is a community of support where wherever your student turns, there's someone willing and ready to help them with that next step. And if their next step includes athletics, well, they are in luck because we are Division I in the Mountain West Conference, which is the highest you can get in college level sports. We have 10 NCAA team championships, 52 titles, have sent several Spartans off to the Olympics, with over 20 of them placing in various medals. Now, as Division I, students have to be recruited to play for the official teams as listed here. So if a student has not been recruited yet, or they're interested in it, or wanted to see if there's any walk-on tryouts available, they need to reach out to the coaches at sjsuspartans.com to see if that is a possibility for any walk-on tryouts and what that will look like. Now, in addition to this, we have hundreds of club sports available, whether it is rock climbing, bowling, a lot of different opportunities for students to engage there at a less competitive level, still competitive, but not Division I. So a lot of great opportunities for our students, as well as a recreation center, which you'll see in just a few moments. This is a glimpse at some of our facilities, some of my favorite ones. Definitely the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library, which is 8 floors of not just books, but also a student computing services center where students can reserve laptops and iPads as part of their tuition, learn how to use the Adobe CS software like Photoshop and Premiere, which they get for free as being San Jose State students. We have a music recording room. We have a 3D printer there. We have librarians for every college to assist with research if they don't know where to begin on their projects. So a lot of great resources there. Our student union, another one of my favorite spots on campus, as a lot of events take place there. The food court is there. We have a bowling alley, our student store, our print center is there, as well as our transportation solution. So if students are having difficulty figuring out how to get to campus, whether that's going to be public transportation, we have Clipper cards for our students, or carpooling, a lot of great resources for our students in that union. It's the building that has the most services on our campus. Our interdisciplinary science building is one of our newest buildings. It's still under construction at this time. It's going to be one of our most high-tech, innovative facilities. I also want to call attention to our newest building at this moment. It's our Spartan Recreation and Aquatic Center. Alrighty, once again, that was our Spartan Recreation and Aquatic Center. A lot of students love to hang out there. As you can see, a lot of great opportunities for students to exercise, hang out, as well as their study areas as well, if they want to get some studying in between their work out there. Another glimpse at our facilities include Campus Village. So if a student is interested in living on campus, we have a wide variety of options, whether they're living directly on campus in our Campus Village shown here, very lively spot on campus, a lot of events, there's themed floors, there's a market there as well, really great spot, as well as our International House, which is just down the street from our campus, and where students can live with other students from all around the world. There's a chef there, there's a lot of great stuff. It's a really great place if you have the chance to be able to take that virtual tour there. Now, housing applications typically open after a student has received their provisional admission notice, so sometime late February, early March, and the application will close May 1st. It is not a requirement for students to live on campus their first year. It is completely optional, but a great experience if they have the chance to do so. More information is available on the housing website. And what do students come here to study? Well, we have over 134 bachelor's and master's degrees with 110 concentrations. Some of our most popular programs are listed here, such as animation illustration, aviation, biological science, television, radio, film, forensic science. We're actually one of the few CSUs that even has that program. And one of our newest programs, information science and data analytics. Now, in the next couple slides, you'll be able to see our steps to admission brochure. It's also on the QR code right behind me that has all of our majors listed there for you to be able to see what programs we have to offer for our students. Just to give some major recognition, if you will, our College of Business is ranked 6th best in the nation. Our College of Engineering, the 4th best in the nation. Our animation program ranked 8th best in the state of California. I could continue to go on, but you can find those rankings on our website, sjsu.edu/transform. I really want to focus on our admission requirements next. What it is your student will have to do to be eligible to become a Spartan. So we are looking for 3 things. First, that your student has completed A through G courses with a grade of C- or better. The minimum A through G is there. Second, that they meet or exceed the CSU minimum eligibility index score. And third, that they meet the admission selection process called impaction, all which we're going to talk about right now. Now, before we get into those requirements, I want to start with a recommendation from the CSU that it is recommended that students are in a senior year-long English and math course. The reason for this has multiple purposes, especially if they're going into what we call a calculus-based major that requires them to be calculus ready their first semester. But this also is in an effort to see if they, or rather to avoid having to do a summer school program called Early Start. So if you have questions about this, definitely talk with your counselor about your students' options, as well as speak with us regarding their if they would need to do that program. More information is shared after the student has been admitted to the university. Now, going in line with our requirements, we are looking for the following: 2 years of history, social science, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of a laboratory science, so a biological science and a physical science, 2 years of a language other than English, so Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, or French 1 and French 2. Spanish 1 and French 1 will not work. It has to be 2 years of the same language, a year of visual performing arts, and a year of an elective. An elective is any A through G course that they're not already using to meet this particular area. So for example, if they took Spanish 1, 2, and 3, Spanish 3 can be their elective. Or if they took drama 1 and drama 2 could be their elective. All of these classes must be passed with a grade of C- or better. Now, when a student is taking these courses, it's all the way from 9th grade to when they graduate, right? But because when they apply, they do not have senior year grades yet, we are using their 10th and 11th grade A through G coursework to determine provisional admission. So a little bit more on that in a moment. As you may have heard, the CSU has temporarily suspended the requirement for the SAT and the ACT test to determine admission eligibility for the fall 2022 application cycle. There's no word yet about fall 2023 and beyond, but once we find that information out, rather once the CSU announces that information, we will definitely share that with the counselors. Now, as we are not using that test requirement, our eligibility index scores are heavily going to rely on the GPA. So our minimum GPAs are as follows. For California residents, a student has to have a minimum GPA of 2.5 and non-residents a minimum GPA of 3.0 to even be considered eligible to apply. Students that are below these GPA thresholds will not be considered for admission at San Jose State University, as we are a fully impacted campus, which I'll talk about in the next slide. As a reminder, the GPA that we use to calculate this is the 10th and 11th grade A through G coursework. So it's not necessarily the weighted, unweighted, it's just the 10th and 11th A through G GPA. You could see on our website or the Cal State Applies eligibility index score calculator website how we get that GPA. In addition to this, if a student has any grades of pass or credit during the terms listed here of the shelter in place, then that will count for meeting A through G for that particular class. However, pass and credit grades are not calculated in the GPA, so they in no way influence that GPA calculation. I've used this word several times, impaction. What does this mean? Impaction is simply that a campus receives more applications from eligible students than what we have seats available for. Therefore, for fully impacted campuses such as San Jose State, every major has a different minimum eligibility index score, and that eligibility index score is subject to change each term. So for example, the way that this would look is listed at sjsu.edu/admissions with an S at the end /impaction, where you could be able to see what our scores were for previous terms. I really want to emphasize impaction does not mean impossible. Yes, some majors are more competitive than others, but as you can see, those scores vary every year and they're all across the board. So this is something very important to keep in mind. Now, as I mentioned, for San Jose State, our minimum GPAs are the 2.5 for California residents and 3.0 for non-residents. And admission is competitive and impacted in all majors as we continue to not have as many spaces available for students. So this is why those scores do change each term, and meeting that CSU minimum might not be enough for admission, as every major has a different score and a student has to meet the score for the major they're applying to get admission to the university. This is not just San Jose State, but this is for other CSUs as well. What does vary though is the impaction. Some CSUs are also fully impacted. Others are only somewhat impacted, where just a few programs have this as well. other CSUs are not impacted at all. More information is on the Cal State Apply website, but for our impaction, that can be viewed again at sjsu.edu/admission/impaction. In addition to this, while our minimum GPAs for eligibility to apply are again 2.5 for California residents and 3.0 for non-residents, there are some CSUs that may take students between the 2.0 to 2.49 if they have certain supplemental factors. Again, that's at the Cal State Apply website. For San Jose State, though, as we are fully impacted, this is not the case. The supplemental factors that we will use, though, to determine a student's admission eligibility are as follows. First, we provide a local preference. So this local preference is for students that are graduating within Santa Clara County. So if they're graduating from a Santa Clara County high school, such as Santa Teresa, then they do receive that local preference, which has historically been in the form of a 0.25 GPA boost. In addition to this, we provide additional points in that eligibility index score calculation based off of if they are a local student, if they are first generation, if they are eligible for the Cal State Apply fee waiver, or if they are a US veteran. These 4 categories provide additional points in the eligibility index score calculation, which again can be found, the formula as well as this list of eligibility index scores from last term at sjsu.edu/admissions/impaction. So make sure that I'll leave this here for just a moment. If you haven't already gotten that website, if you haven't had a chance to see it yet, make sure that you grab that. I'm going to also put this in the chat for anyone who has not had a chance to take a screenshot of that. Again, sjsu.edu/admissions/impaction there. All right, as we move along, next we want to talk about the Spartan Eastside Promise program. So where does the Spartan Eastside Promise come into play in all of this? So let's say your student is applying, they have all their A through G's passed with a grade of C- or better. They met the deadlines, they meet requirements, except they do not have the eligibility index score for their major. Now to recap, in order to get admission to the university, a student has to either meet the eligibility index score for their primary or alternate major, meaning their first choice or their second choice. If they don't meet the eligibility index score for either of those, or there is not space anymore to take them in the alternate major, their application is withdrawn. However, if again, they have their A through G's passed with a grade of C- or better, they have met all the deadlines, and they have a GPA of 2.75 or higher and are an Eastside Union High School District student, then rather than having their application denied, they have this third layer of admission. They have this safety net, if you will, called the Spartan Eastside Promise, where rather than having the application denied, they get admitted to undeclared. Undeclared means they are starting without a major, but they are not behind in any way, as what will happen is 2 things. First, they're going to meet with us, our Spartan Eastside Promise program. We have a summer program literally right after they graduate, where they're learning, it's literally, I kid you not, like a week or 2 right after they graduate, where they get to meet their academic advisors. They learn about the education roadmaps. They learn about our e-advising tools, everything that they need to have a successful start, including meeting with their advisors well in advance before their orientation. So they know what classes to enroll in. They know how to get on track and be able to apply to transition to a major at a later time. So that is the first thing. The second is they are working with that advisor closely to make sure that they can be able to take the classes that they need to be able to transition to that major at a later time. It varies per major, as some of our majors have different requirements than others, but it is a great support service to not only have that admission to the university, but also have that support throughout their time at SJSU. Our phrase is from college exploration to college graduation. So we have a wide variety of workshops, a team of peer mentors, various events. We have an event coming up in the next few days called SJSU Preview Days, which is a week-long virtual event that your students as well as you can engage with, where you can hear from our admissions team. You can hear about this Cal State Apply application again if you have questions. There's Ask a Counselor time. There's financial aid presentations. Ton of great stuff here. Students can register at bit.ly/SJSU Preview Days. So great opportunity for your students there. A lot of support services available for them. I'm going to take a pause here as I see we had a couple questions come through the Q&A. Want to make sure that those were addressed here. Gotcha. Okay, so it looks like all of those are addressed. That's awesome. So if you have any other questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. And at this time, we're going to jump into the Cal State Apply application. So to overview the Cal State Apply workshop, once again, it is one application for all 23 CSUs available at calstate.edu/apply. Now, even though it is one application for all 23 CSUs, it is $70 per CSU the student chooses to apply to, unless they are eligible for a fee waiver, which we'll talk about in the next few slides. I highly recommend that students go to the website calstate.edu/apply/freshman, as this is going to have not only the deadlines for the CSU, but this freshman application guide. So this guide is a step-by-step overview of how to fill out the application, of how to be able to enter in their courses, of how to be able to enter any repeats if they have that, how to be able to apply for EOP, the do's and don'ts, the checklist, everything that they need to know in order to fill out this application. I've dropped the link in the chat for you as well. As I mentioned, the needs to know, it is $70 per CSU. This year, the deadlines for the CSU will vary in that San Jose State's deadline is not the same as some of the other CSUs. Our deadline is November 30th. So that means if a student is interested in applying for fall 2022 admission for SJSU, they need to apply by November 30th. There is no extension for a missed deadline for us. There is available help through the live chat in the help center, as well as our office as well, which I'll share that information in a moment. But again, calstate.edu/apply. If they go straight to that website, it'll show here where it has the deadlines, as well as how to create their account. So when the student is ready to create the account, it will look, I'll show that in just a moment, but this is the page that I really refer to, calstate.edu/apply/freshman, as all of those resources I mentioned are listed here. All right, so once they're ready, they're going to go ahead and click that drop-down menu to click Fall 2022, click Apply, and have that checklist with them. Have all of these items listed here with them. Again, all of that is in the link that I provided in the chat. Make sure that they have those ready. Most importantly, their unofficial transcripts, their final grades in their A through G courses, as well as the classes that they are enrolled in for their senior year. Now, the application has just 4 sections, but it starts with the very first thing they're going to start with is creating their account and their extended profile, as well as selecting the schools and the majors. So the account, we're going to go over that step by step in a moment. The extended profile is incredibly important. This is one of the areas where students have the most mistakes and have the most questions. So we will go over that section by section in just one moment, but I do want to highlight that even though that happens at the very beginning of the application, they can always access that by clicking on the drop-down menu next to their name and then clicking extended profile when they're logged into the application. The application itself has only 4 sections, 4 quadrants, if you will: biographical information, academic history, supporting information, and program materials. So those 4 sections we're going to cover in full detail. Starting with the account. So the account is their full legal name. If they have an alternate name or a preferred name, that will be a later point in the application. Right now, in the account is asking for their full legal name. Email. This should be the student's email, not a school loop-based email, not a parent or guardian or sibling email, their personal email. The reason for this, email is the main mode of communication that we use to reach out to students. And once the student applies, we see them as an adult responsible for their application. So sometimes we hear responses like, oh, but so-and-so did this for me, or I'm not sure about that, or it's the student's application, so it is their responsibility. Definitely help them along the way, but if they get withdrawn, there's really no, there's an appeal, but there's no guarantee with that. So we highly recommend it as a student's email. The other reason for this and not having a school loop email or a school-based email in here, sometimes those emails will bounce back when we send information, as well as those are not available to the student after they graduate. And this is the email we have on file in their account, especially if they start to attend their university. Phone number is a mobile number, and then they need to create a username and a secure password. The extended profile, as I mentioned, it's the area where students make the most mistakes. We'll ask them what type of degree are they applying for? Is it their first bachelor's, which the answer would be yes. What is their educational status? If they are graduating high school senior or equivalent, even if they are dual enrolled, even if they've taken 30 community college courses, they are still a graduating high school senior or equivalent if they are graduating high school this coming June. Now, if they have taken those community college classes or even been in our Steps to College program taking classes here, then for that next section, as you'll see here, have you taken or earned college credits through a community college or university? They would answer yes. If they have only earned college credit through an AP, IB, or CLEP exam, they will answer no. The reason for this, and this is crucial, this application is incredibly intuitive and it changes based off of how they answer the questions in the extended profile. So if they answer yes here, it's going to add the colleges attended and college coursework section to their application. And if they don't have any college credit from an actual class they've taken, only AP or IBs, they've just added a section to their application they don't need and are going to not be able to submit unless they go back and make that change. So if their only credit is through AP, IB, or CLEP exams, they're going to answer no. There's a separate section where they can provide us with those scores. Moving right along, once they finish creating their account and their extended profile, it's going to ask them which schools do they plan to apply to and what is their primary and alternate major choices. Now, I recommend clicking on filters, and there are several filters here, but the one that is useful is the campus one. So go ahead and either scroll through or just manually type in the name of the school and then click the checkbox there to select that particular school. It's going to list all of the majors available at that school, and which when the student is ready, they're going to click close and then select the major of choice by clicking on the plus sign next to that major. If they click right on the name of the major, it tells them more about the program, but to select that is their major for that school that they want to apply to, they need to click the plus sign. Once they've done that, it's going to ask, are you ready to select your alternate? If the university allows them to select an alternate, I highly recommend that, because the way that we do admissions is they have the first choice and the second choice. And if they're not eligible for the first, we're going to see if they're eligible for the second and if there's still space in the program. So it's at 2 layers of possible admission eligibility. So it's highly recommended they say yes and select that program. I also want to take a moment to highlight that our most impacted programs, such as computer science, computer engineering, pre-nursing undeclared, and undeclared, will not be listed as an alternate major. So do keep this in mind. Once the student has selected all the schools and the majors they want to apply to, they will click continue, and it will show them a list of all of the schools they plan to apply to, as well as, incredibly important, the deadline for that school. So they could be able to see that there in terms of, excuse me, in terms of which schools' deadlines are coming up first. Once they have said, yep, that's all the schools I want to apply to, they'll click continue to my application. The application, again, is only 4 sections, 4 quadrants: personal information, academic history, supporting information, and program materials. As you can see, program materials is already green and checkmarked, as that is a completed section already. This will hold all of the majors that they plan to apply to and the particular universities. As I mentioned again, if there are any issues, especially if they accidentally put something wrong on the extended profile, they would click that little drop-down arrow next to where it says your name and click on extended profile to make any edits. Starting with personal information. Who are you? Where are you from? Really, that's what we're asking. So this is where they verify their name, their address, if they have any preferred or alternate names, for example, if their legal name varies from what's on their transcript or test scores, they could provide this information there. Social security number, if they have one. If you don't, that's fine, and they could just leave it blank, as well as household size and income. I want to call attention to the citizenship and residency question, as if there are any AB 540 or or undocumented students on this call, you would select none on the US citizenship question, and then if applicable, then you would make your selection for California residency there. So do make sure that if you have questions there, you can see there is a blue link here that says Applicant Help Center. On every page of the application, there's a link there that is blue and underlined. This is in reference to if you have questions on that particular section, Click there and it opens a help center to be able to address that particular area, provide further information for you should you have questions. The other area in personal information I want to draw attention to is financial and parental information, as this is going to ask the student to determine if they are either dependent or independent, as well as what is the household size and the adjusted gross income, the AGI, and the untaxed income, as these are typically not the same amount. I highly recommend having those conversations with your student, be able to work with them so they can put as accurate as possible the information here. The other great thing I do want to highlight again, those blue links. If you're not sure where to find this information on your tax return, it will show you down to the line based on what type of return you filled out, where to find this information. And if you did not file, what to be able to put here as well. Next, we have academic history, and we are halfway done with the application already. It's that quick. So academic history, this is all of the classes they have taken, the grades they have received, any test scores they would like to share. So a student is going to enter in all of their A through G courses, and as it said in the chat, they already received their grade inventory. So they know they have this information, they're ready here. So they could be able to enter in all of the schools they've attended, the grades that they've received, the classes they've taken. Now, as you can see here, it shows colleges attended and college coursework. This section will only show up if the student said yes in that extended profile. If they said no, it's not going to show up there, and that's totally fine because it wouldn't be relevant for them. If they have any questions on this section, the application help guide, which I put in the chat, is a step-by-step overview of this process with screenshots, with the links to the help center, how to enter in repeated courses, all of that information. All right, starting off with the high school. So if they have a California Colleges account, they can import that information. If they don't, that's fine. It's not a requirement. And they would manually add in their high school. So they'd click add a high school and search for the school by city and state. It gives a list of all the schools in San Jose, California, and then they would either type in the name of the school or scroll down and select the school of attendance. Next, it's going to ask them to select when they started that school, when they anticipated on graduating, or if they went to multiple schools when they left that school, as well as the term type, if it was a quarter, semester, trimester, whatever that might be. If they've attended multiple high schools or were homeschooled at any point, they could be able to put this information in here as well. Moving right along, it's going to ask which school are they getting their diploma from and when, as well as if they attended any high schools outside of the United States and what their GPA was. Coursework taken outside of the United States does not need to be entered on the application. So if there are any international students on the call, they do not need to enter that in the application, only what the name of the school was. At a later time, this is why it's so important that they have access to that email. We're going to email them when we need them to send us a transcript so we can verify their eligibility. Now, if they've attended any colleges, community college or taken a university course, this is where they would click add a college or university, and just as they did for the high school, search for that college, select the term type, as well as from when they attended. If it was just the summer, they could go ahead and put those months. Summer 1 and summer 2, that's a common question we get. That really only matters if the transcript actually indicates this was summer 1 or this was summer 2. Other than that, putting in the months, and then if they're still attending that college, checking there. Now the high school coursework. Again, this is all of the A through G classes the student has completed. So no PE, no health. These are not A through G classes. This is all of that high school coursework. As I said, this application is incredibly intuitive. In this instance, it autofills. So if the classes were taken at a California high school, it is going to start to autofill as they type in the name. What is crucial in this is they type the full name of the class. So not just EWRC, but actually the full name of the class, so it can start to autofill there. Now, if the application is not autofilling and it is a California high school class, such as a class at Santa Teresa, then they need to refresh the page, log out, log back in, maybe even go back to the academic history section to make sure that the high school attended information is correct. If it's still not allowing them, definitely reach out to Cal State Apply, reach out to us. They can manually enter in their courses, but this is highly discouraged as this can delay the processing of the application. So do keep this in mind. Now, if the student has repeated any courses, they will not enter repeats twice. If it is a repeated course, for example, they took English 2 their sophomore year and got a D and an F, and then they retook it junior year and got a B and a C, they only enter in those B and C grades, only that junior year, that retaken grade. Now, if they took it sophomore year and got a D and an F and are in the class right now, senior year, and they do not have grades yet, they do need to put that D and the F. And for senior year, they will put that class as in progress and planned. This is because they do not have the official grade yet. By the CSU's definition, a repeated course is a class that has the exact same title and taken at the exact same school or school district. So for example, World History and AP World History would not count as a repeat. Calculus 1 at the high school and Calculus 1 at the community college would not be a repeat. It is the exact same school class at the exact same school or school district with the exact same name. Now, to enter in these grades, they will go ahead and start by adding in the grade level. So 9th grade, making the selection of the school, the year that they were in that term, as well as clicking that little check mark there to add that grade level. Now, some students may have taken A through G courses in middle school. Most common we see like math or language other than English taken in 8th grade or even 7th grade sometimes. In this case, then they can be able to put 8th grade, Santa Teresa High School, Spanish 1, and then the year of their freshman year. The reason for this, the application will not allow them to enter in middle schools, but if that is the A through G course and it was accepted by the high school, they can go ahead and put 8th grade, I took this class, but list it as the high school. As we move right along, once they enter in that particular grade level, they need to enter in the courses for each of that grades, or they took that grade rather. So as you can see, English 1, it has course type, none, if it's a regular class, AP or honors, if it was, and then the grade for fall and the grade for spring, and click the green check mark to move on to the next class. As you can see here, there's a little pencil and a little trash can. These will show up here as well. So if they need to make any edits or delete anything, if there's any mistakes, they can go ahead and do so and continue to add grade levels, a summer grade level if they took a class during summer school at the high school, and save and continue. Senior year classes are incredibly important. They need to enter in those classes that they're taking in senior year with the fall grade as in progress and the spring grade as planned. They will not put progress report grades. These have to be fall in progress and spring planned. Now, if the class is something like government and economics that is only one semester, then they would enter it as shown here, where government is in progress for fall and no grade for spring, and economics is no grade for fall and planned for spring, vice versa if they're taking it the other way around. If a student does not include their senior year coursework, there is no way for us to verify their A through Gs and they risk their application being withdrawn. So it is highly important they put that information in there, as again, changes can be made after they hit submit. If there are any community college classes taken while they were in high school, especially if they were dual enrolled, this is only entered in the college coursework section. Even if they're being used for A through G, it is only in the college coursework section, not the high school section. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. First, they would go to the college coursework and select the college that they entered under colleges attended and click start. Then, just like the high school, it's going to say, what term did you take that class? What was the year? What was your academic status, which would be freshman? And then completed, if they are done with that class, if they have a grade, they would put in progress if they're still in that class and click save. And just like the high school, entering in the class information. So this is why it's important that they have that unofficial transcript. If they've taken a class at a community college or even with us through Steps to College, they have access to an online portal that shows them on their unofficial transcript, that shows them the course code, the course title, the credits they've earned, subject. If not, they can always reach out to the registrar of that school to ask for an unofficial transcript copy. They would enter it in as so, and then go ahead and click save. Once they've entered in all of their college coursework, if they have taken any, they then click the college coursework tab again, and then click yes, I've completed, and save that transcript. All right, A through G matching, especially if there's any repeats, especially if they're using an AP, IB, or CLEP exam score to meet A through G, or a community college or university class to meet A through G. I cannot stress the importance of this section enough. A through G matching is going to list what the CSU minimum A through G sections are, as well as based off of the student's self-reported data, the information they just put in the application, if they are meeting A through G, again, based off of their self-reported data. Now, if anything here is listed as not meeting A through G, and they're like, wait a minute, I did meet, I know I did, they need to click Update A through G and manually say, yes, that English 1A class from EVC is for Area B, English, or my Calculus 1 class at De Anza is for Area C, Math, or my AP English Lang Comp score test that I got a 4 on, I'm using that for Area B, English, whatever that happens to be. They need to manually indicate that and then click Save. Now, the only other instance where it might not match up would be, let's say, for international students, for example, that took classes that were outside of the country. If that was the case, again, this is why it is so crucial to make sure that you monitor your email, because we are going to reach out and ask for transcripts so we can verify admission eligibility. So do keep this in mind here. It should match up with the minimum A through Gs. Next is standardized tests. So as you may have heard, and as I've said in the beginning of the presentation, we are not requiring SAT or ACT test scores for admission eligibility for fall 2022. However, if a student has those scores, they can provide them, as they may influence their English and math course placement their first year. Now, this is where they can also put any AP, IB, or CLEP exam scores, but keep in mind that even if a score is listed here, they would still need to send official scores at a later time. Typically, after they have been admitted, we usually encourage even after they have committed to the university, as long as it is by July 15th. So do keep this in mind, that official scores would still need to be sent if they are planning to share that information with us. Lastly is supporting information, and this is the last part of the application. That was really quick, right? So supporting information. This consists of the EOP application, the Educational Opportunity Program, which is not just for San Jose State, it is in various CSUs. This program supports students who are from a low-income backgrounds, educationally disadvantaged, or first generation. So any of these categories, if a student is eligible for admission to this particular program, I highly recommend applying. It is an amazing support service that has aid not only from their time at SJSU, but the summer before they start, all the way to when they graduate. An advisor, workshops, sometimes financial assistance. The one thing to be aware of, though, is if a student is eligible for this program and even slightly interested, this is the one and only time to apply. During the time of admission, a student cannot apply for this program their sophomore, junior, or senior year at the university. It has to be at the time of applying for admission. Now, what the application will look like. It has several sections here, such as, were they involved in any other programs? What is their parental and guardian information, such as education level, income, things of that nature? Some short answer questions about their goals and why they want to attend college, things that they were involved in, as well as 2 recommendations. So this is not necessarily a letter. What students need to be prepared for when they get to the recommendations section is having the name, the title, and the email address of a teacher, a counselor, a coach, someone who is not a relative that can speak to their academic performance. What will happen is the student will enter in that person's name as well as their email address and the deadline for EOP. Now, as you saw in the very first slide that we had of the deadlines, every CSU has different deadlines. So it's a student's responsibility to check that deadlines and see what the deadline is for the EOP program for the schools they are interested in. I honestly recommend selecting the earliest deadline and putting that information in there. Then whoever they put their email for, so the teacher, the coach, whoever that might be, the counselor, they get an email that says, Mark needs a recommendation for EOP. Are you willing to provide this? And then they fill out the form on your student's behalf to give them that recommendation for the EOP program. EOP has no influence on the admission eligibility, so it's not going to hurt or harm or rather benefit the application. It really is another support service that starts from summer before they start with us all the way to when they graduate. So do keep this in mind if your student is interested and eligible for this program. Now, if they're not interested or not eligible, they can go ahead and click no, and then they're done with the application. It will be green, all quadrants will be check marked, And I cannot stress this enough, review the application, go through every single section, because once the application has been submitted to any CSU, it cannot be changed, as it is one application for all 23 CSUs. Now, once a student hits submit, it will take them to this page that will say, check my fee waivers. So they will need to click there and see, one, are they eligible for a fee waiver in which they can apply to 4 CSUs for free? Or are they not eligible and have to pay the $70 fee per school? Now, if it says they are not eligible, but they believe that they should be eligible, it will have 2 links. One, they click that first one to see the checklist to make sure and go back through the application before they hit submit to see if they accidentally disqualified for themselves for the fee waiver. So going back, going through each section, I highly recommend asking any questions if you have those. Second, if they go through that and still they make their edits and still let's say, no, you're not eligible, but they know or feel like they really should be, then they need to do the appeal form. And the appeal form is in that first link. It's on this link on this page as well. So feel free to be able to take a screenshot. I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat for you as well in just one moment. But excuse me, what will happen here is it's going to have them fill out a form. And if they are trying to get a fee waiver, if they think they're eligible for one, they need to fill out this form and send it to the admissions office of every CSU they plan to apply to before they hit submit. 2 important things here. One, after they hit submit, there's no refunds. So they can't hit submit and then do the appeal. It won't work that way. 2, this is why it is crucial that even though the deadline is November 30th, they start the application as soon as possible. That if they run into this and they're like, wait, I should be eligible for a fee waiver, they can get this process going as soon as possible, because it will take time to review those fee waiver requests. So definitely make sure that they start as early as possible. The application is open now. So it is a great time to be able to go ahead and start that. As we move right along, it's going to ask them to, excuse me, to review the application section by section. So manually clicking, I understand and have reviewed, and that everything is correct to their knowledge, as no changes can be made after they hit submit. Now, resources. What is there in place to be able to help students through this process? First, some testing resources. Again, while the Cal State, the Cal States do not require SAT or ACT for admission eligibility, we do say that if they have those scores already, they can send them, as they may influence their English and math course placement. So there are some resources here at act.org as well as satpractice.org to help students in preparing for those exams, as well as our website, sjsu.edu/supported instruction, for students to be able to see how these scores, as well as the CSU's multiple measures practice, can influence which English and math course they are taking their first year at SJSU or their particular CSU. Next would be testing, continuing with testing. If they're taking an AP or IB exam, if they score 3, 4, or 5 on that exam, this will give them college credit. But the other thing to keep in mind, let's say the student, we've seen where a student is, especially, when during the shelter in place, like they got a D in AP English language composition, but they passed the AP exam. Even though they have that D, passing the AP exam would meet A through G credit. However, I do not encourage just aiming for the Ds. Always aim for C- or better, because even though that might meet A through G, if their GPA falls below the threshold for admission, so below that 2.5, then they are no longer eligible for admission. So incredibly important to always strive for at least C- or better in those courses, doing their absolute best. But these tests are another backup option for A through G credit, as well as the CLEP exam, which is the college version of the AP test. More information is available at sjsu.edu/testing. But again, always strive for that C- or better, and talk with your counselor first about any options. Additional resources that the Cal State has. If your student is unsure what major they want to apply to, or they know what major, but they don't know what school yet, we have over 4,100 majors within the CSU, between our 23 CSU campuses. So the student can be able to explore here see the choose a campus feature, be able to compare the campuses, see which schools have which programs, use filters to see which schools in a big city, a small town has a basketball team, as well as take a virtual tour of all 23 CSUs. The guide, again, I cannot stress the guide enough. calstate.edu/apply/freshman is where they can be able to access this guide, access the do's and don'ts, see the EOP worksheet, see the deadlines, all this great information that they could be able to access here at calstate.edu/apply/freshman. Their checklist at this time, what is going to be required? How do they prepare? First, talking with their counselor. You have some amazing team here. Make sure that your students are talking with their counselor. If there's anything they have to retake, they do so before their high school graduation. They absolutely cannot use summer 2022 to meet fall 2022 admission requirements. Everything has to be done by the high school graduation date. Now, the other part of this is budgeting and planning. As I said, again, the application is $70 per CSU. There is an intent to enroll fee. So if the student is admitted, which they find out in the springtime, they have until May 1st to let us know they plan to attend and pay that intent to enroll fee. Then our tuition is $7,800 roughly per academic year, charged by semester. Now, while that might seem a lot, UCs are anywhere between around like $15,000 per academic year. I've seen private schools $30,000 to $50,000 per year. In addition to this, CSU-wide, almost 60%, 59% of our students do receive full financial aid where they do not have to pay, where they're graduate debt free. I know that was my situation. I know that's not everyone's situation, but this is where you want to make sure that when your counselors are talking about cash for college or financial aid nights, or here's the deadline for the FAFSA or the California Dream Act, they apply as early as possible. They check their messages, as there's several steps in this process. They don't want to miss out on any possible resources to be able to finance their college education. The timeline is as follows. The process has already begun. October 1st, November 30th is our application filing period. The application is open now. It closes November 30th for SJSU. About 2 weeks after they hit submit on their application is when they are going to receive an email from us that says activate their My SJSU account. My SJSU is our version of School Loop, where any and everything we need for them gets posted there, especially our transcript deadlines. If they've been withdrawn but have a chance to appeal, everything is in My SJSU. So they are responsible for activating that account and monitoring it on a regular basis for any changes. The application for financial aid is open. While it closes March 2nd, now is the time to apply. As I mentioned, students find out their provisional admission notice late February, early March, have until May 1st to commit. They have Sparta Camp orientation in the summer. We have July 15th as the final deadline for any high school, community college, or university transcripts, as well as AP, IB, or CLEP exam test scores. We need all that by July 15th. This timeline, as well as everything that I talked about in regards to admissions, there's financial aid information, videos, hyperlinks, everything is in this steps admission brochure. So if you have your cell phone, your students have their cell phone, go ahead, get that out, open up that camera app and hover over that QR code to be able to access the steps to admission brochure. Again, it has everything that I talked about in even further detail. It has videos, it has a list of all of our majors, it has all of the deadlines, it has our admission requirements for freshmen and transfers. If your student is thinking of transferring, going to community college first, we have great programs with the ADT as well. So a lot of great resources are in this brochure designed for your students. So make sure that you access that here. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat for you as well if you're unable to access that QR code. So the link is in the chat for you as well. Now, in addition to today, we also have Cal State Apply workshops just about every week. So they are listed here and available on our website at sjsu.edu/soar/events. So if your student has questions on the Cal State Apply application, they can definitely attend one of these workshops. They're live. They overview everything that we covered tonight in the application, but they have a chance to speak with the counselor directly on any questions that they have. So again, sjsu.edu/soar/events. Also on that page is a list of other events. So we have our Spartan Saturdays where maybe students want to learn more of the student perspective, take a virtual campus tour. We have in-person tours available as well. But for this event, Spartan Saturdays, it's a virtual tour. We have a student panel. We talk admissions. You have Q&A with the counselor. Register at sjsu.edu/soar/events. As well as, again, SJSU Preview Day specifically designed for our Eastside students. It is a week-long virtual event with both live and self-paced programming for students to engage with financial aid, to engage with our Career Center, to engage with multiple resources live in a resource fair, to be able to hear directly from their college about what those majors have to offer. So again, this link is on our website at sjsu.edu/soar, but the direct registration is listed here at bit.ly/SJSU Preview Days. So definitely make sure that your students register for that. We have a lot of great programming lined up for them here. My information is here. If you have any questions beyond today on our admissions, on the application, on the Spartan Eastside Promise program and our services and events, please do reach out, whether it's through email, through text. Sometimes students like to reach out through social media, but email or text would be the preferred mode here. All right, thank you everyone for attending and have a good rest of your night. Take care.